Our men's t-shirt was made here, in this factory, in Bangladesh. Here's one of the people who made it.
এরপরে মিলানোর পরে সোল্ডার করবে আবার লগে এখানে টপ স্টিচ হবে একটা
Our women's t-shirt was made here, in this factory, in Colombia.
¿Cómo hizo para conseguirla? La punta es lo más importante de la camiseta. Es lo que le da la apariencia a la camisa.
Doris and Jasmine share a job, but they're separated by the economic realities of the countries they live in. Bangladesh is much poorer than Colombia. And the role the garment industry plays in Bangladesh, the role of our t-shirts, is very different. Jasmine Akhtar lives with her brother, sister-in-law, and roommate in a tiny rooming house. There's no running water, just a gas stove to cook. There's a small TV and a bookcase that holds all her belongings. She leaves for work at 7 a.m. each day, 6 days a week. She makes one of the lowest wages in the world, about $80 a month. Jasmine has been working in clothing factories since she was 16 years old. And she is not alone. 4 million people in Bangladesh work in the garment industry. That's double the number from a decade ago. Which raises a question. What has driven 4 million people to work long hours in these factories for some of the lowest wages in the world? To answer that question, we went back with Jasmine to the village where she grew up.
কেউ ভালো সুস্থভাবে চলা অবস্থায় কেউ কখনো গার্মেন্টসে যাবে না কারণ আমি যেরকম আসছি এরকম সবাই
A lot of garment workers come from villages like Jasmine's, where people worry about getting enough food to eat and sometimes don't, and where girls are seen as an economic burden. The solution? Find a husband with the means to support your daughter. But finding a good husband costs money, a dowry. And in Jasmine's family, her older sister's dowry sent the family into debt.
আমাদের থেকে ঋণ পাবে প্রতিদিন ঘরে আসবে একটা লোক তখন আমার ভিতরে একটা জিদ আসছে যে কি রে আমরা তো ঘরে আছি বেকার আমরা কেন থাকবো আমরা শহরে গেলে তো অনেক টাকা ইনকাম করতে পারবো তখন আমার জিদে আমি শহরে গেছি যাওয়ার পরে আমি চাকরি করে মা বাবাকে টাকা দিছি হেল্প করছি আর কি যাই আস্তে আস্তে সব ক্লিয়ার হয়ে দিছি
This was Jasmine's trade-off. Long hours, a monotonous low-wage job. But in a factory, she says, that feels safe, better than others she's worked in. An improvement, however slight, over a life of even more crushing poverty in her village. In the middle of our t-shirt project, the worst garment industry disaster in history happened in Bangladesh. The factory collapse at Rana Plaza. Suddenly, the world was considering questions that we'd been considering. Who are the people that make our clothes? What are their lives like? More than 1,000 people died that day. They died seeking the same things that Jasmine was seeking. A few more calories in their diet, the chance maybe to pay off a debt. They died, in other words, trying to make the same trade-off that Jasmine had, a life of extreme poverty for one slightly better off. Our women's t-shirt was made in a country with a much more advanced economy, Colombia. Things there are different. Doris Restrepo lives there with her mother in a small apartment. And she supports the two of them on the salary she earns at the factory where our shirts were made.
Yo me imagino que las personas que van a usar esa camiseta son personas de Estados Unidos, gringos, gordos. Me imagino a las personas gordas porque las camisetas que hacemos así como inmensas. Y ahí sabemos que es para personas gigantes.
Doris makes almost 4 times what Jasmine makes in Bangladesh and can imagine a life outside the garment industry. Doris has a small side business selling pastries door to door and dreams of one day opening her own business.
Pienso que si Dios quiere y todo me sale bien para este año, Es el último en mi profesión.
In Colombia, the garment industry is just an industry. But in Bangladesh, it's a social upheaval. Millions of women like Jasmine living lives that just 20 years ago would have been hard to imagine. Lives filled with new risks and new possibilities. Most of the money Jasmine earns at the factory, she sends home to her family. But she keeps about $10 a month for herself, for food, or maybe an impulse purchase on her one day off a week. We talked to both labor activists and factory owners about the impact of our t-shirt on the lives of people in Bangladesh. Is our shirt providing opportunities for people like Jasmine, or is it taking advantage of a desperate population? Both the activists and the owners told us the same thing, that the worst possible outcome from tragedies like the factory collapse at Rana Plaza would be for the garment industry to leave Bangladesh altogether. What they don't agree on, what they're fighting about right now, what more needs to be done to improve the lives of workers in Bangladesh? And what does it all have to do with the price of our t-shirt?